Today's show is sponsored by the ABV Network Merchandise Shop. Check out our large assortment of logo merch and our lifestyle collection as well. Just head over to abvnetwork.com and click on shop. We are also sponsored by The Bar to Go. The Bar to Go offers a fully customizable carrying case that allows you to take your favorite distilled spirits or cocktail ingredients with you. Whether you're looking for yourself, a customized gift, or logo items for your business or event, The Bar to Go can help. Check them out at thebar2go.com. Use the number 2 when you type out The Bar to Go. Did you know Neely Family Distillery now ships its popular distilled spirits directly to you? To order, simply call 859-394-3258. Tell them the ABV Network sent you. And now, on to the show.
Let's drink!
Hello and welcome to the Bourbon Daily, the podcast about everything bourbon delivered to you every day of the week. Today on the show, we'll be taking time to talk to Rob Rubens, founder and distiller for R6 Distillery in El Segundo, California. My name is Steve Akeley. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Mr. Rob Rubens. Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
Hey, Steve. Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Absolutely. So yeah, we're excited to talk to you. And, I've got the benefit of getting to taste some of your product. I appreciate you sending some of that ahead, and you got some good stuff going on there. And it sounds like you've got a great company and representing an area that we don't necessarily think of when it comes to whiskey, but it seems like it's on the uprise. It seems like there's some good things happening out in California, huh?
Yeah, we're hoping to change that in terms of the whiskey connoisseur and being known for a place that produces great whiskey, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. You just it's not a bad thing. You just think of California, you think of great wine and stuff like that. So with the opportunity, it seems like I said, besides you, there's several other ones that seem to be doing a good job, and a rising tide raises all boats. So yeah, I think it's a good thing for the industry to have you guys out there doing what you're doing. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more with the whole rising tide and all the boats going up together kind of mentality.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself, because we're going to talk about your business. We'll get to all that stuff after the break. For right now, it's a good idea to get to know our guests on a personal basis. So if you don't mind, first question is as easy as that. Tell us about yourself.
That's kind of the open-ended one.
Open-ended, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm originally from Chicago, moved out here back in 2011 for kind of a life change relocation movement, and was working for a consulting company at the time, and got out of that gig, and love being out here. It's a beautiful place to be. And probably the most exciting thing that I can think of right now is I just finished yesterday a year of pilot training for my commercial pilot certificate for multi-engine airplanes. So that's exciting.
Heck yeah, it is. So yeah, that's exciting stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that's, definitely a hobby and an interest. Aviation, obviously not with booze put together, but it's something I like to do. And aside from making bourbon and whatnot too, traveling, those kinds of things. So
yeah. And you worked in corporate America. So tell us a little bit about the compare and contrast that versus, doing your own thing.
Yeah. A lot different. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you're your own worst critic, and you kind of have to be, otherwise, how does stuff get done? So I landed my dream job out of school and was there doing management consulting for, the better part of a decade. And it just, things changed and shifted throughout the tenure of my career. And at the end of it, I wasn't in what I signed up for any longer. And that was definitely like a gut feeling where it's like, all right, you got to get out and do something else. And didn't quite know what that was until I toured a rum distillery. And that was my aha moment for leaving the corporate America gig.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you draw upon that? Because I'm a corporate America guy too, before the beard and all that kind of stuff. I worked 20 years. I did a 20-year stint And I held on too long, I think. Ultimately, they are the ones that kicked me out the door. I was kind of working on some plans to get out. But corporate downsizing, I was 49 years old at the time. And they say, that's a good time to cut someone loose in the corporate world's mind. So, I end up doing this and it ends up being a dream gig. But and as much as I hated it, gosh darn, I hated that corporate job. I hated everything about it. But I do find myself, there is a lot of things that I use from that, every day, even the structures of the shows, because we used to do training events. I was a sales guy and did a lot of sales training. And a lot of the way I, structure the training events, especially when we started doing them like we're doing here on Zoom, we would do them via Microsoft, but same type of thing, you kind of set it up where it's interesting like a show. And so I drew upon a lot of those things. Do you feel, in a distillery, which is a very different business than you were in, but do you draw upon the things that you learned from the corporate world?
Oh, absolutely. It was, indelible marks left on me for, what came out of that experience. So I wouldn't take it back for anything. And, similar to what you said too, whether it helps with kind of the paradigm of, the structure for the show or whatnot, but it's, yeah, God, I wouldn't go back to it. That's for sure.
It gives you motivation. It lights that fire. I always say that when I started this thing, I worked incredibly hard because I was scared. I didn't want to try to go back into the corporate world. That's a motivator too. You can make it as an entrepreneur, or you can go back to that corporate world that you hated. You're motivated to work pretty hard, probably way, way, way harder than you were working in the corporate world. But yeah, again, you're making progress and doing things for yourself. And I think it's the most rewarding thing you can do is do the things for yourself. So.
Yeah. And similar story to yours too. Like I wanted to leave, but they also, I was in a small group of a big company and they wanted me out too. So I could have just kind of walked out the door, but I made them do their diligence to kick me out of the door so I could at least take a severance and work on the distillery.
Yes.
Doing that.
Yeah. That's the sweetest thing. Right. So yeah. Yeah, that's what kickstarted me because it's a tough thing, you lose your job and all that, and you go through all those emotions. Even though you hate the job, it's not fun. The day they tell you got to go down to the conference room, and you're born in a corporate environment. You know what that means. They're not randomly sitting down people to go to HR to the conference room. I knew what that meant, even though they changed how they used to. Rob, they initially, when they first started laying off, when I started that company, they never had laid off anybody, very point of pride. And then they started having some financial problems. And what they do is they lay off 50 or 60 people. You make the job cuts, and then it's like, oh, we ripped off the Band-Aid, we're on the right track, and now things are fixed. And of course, that makes the news. This XYZ company lays off, 50 people, that makes the news. So they found over time, if you just lay off 2 or 3 people a week, when you're having financial problems, that doesn't make the news. So it was like every week somebody's getting laid off. So when they said go down to the conference room, I get it's right when I get back from lunch. They're like, hey, they don't ever send anybody important to you. That's like the secretary in the area, and she comes up and says, hey, they're looking for you down in HR. Can you go down there real quick? So I went over. Grabbed my personal effects because I knew what's happening. Yeah. I grabbed my stuff that I wanted and I walked down there. Smart. Ready to go. I lay my head in the chopping block and they tell me, oh, it's tough and we make hard decisions and all the stuff they say. And and oh, by the way, here's what you get. And I'm like, whoa. Woo.
Yeah, you're like, you can spare me the first part, and the pleasantries just cut to the chase.
Right. What's this mean financially to me? So,
yeah. What's the bottom line, literally and figuratively?
Yeah. So it ends up being not too bad. So it helped for sure in a tough time. So did you spend some time in the military too?
I did not, but my brother, who's a part owner in the company, he did. So that's why we got that on there. Yeah.
That's what I see. Okay. So yeah. So what was his role in the military?
He's still active in the Navy, so he actually served enlisted way back, and now he's an attorney with the Navy JAG Corps.
Oh, well, that's a big deal, right?
Yeah, he works his butt off and worked really hard to get in there, and it's pretty cool. He's a very hard Type A kind of guy.
Yeah, very cool. Well, what we'll do next, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we want to talk about your company and learn about what you got going on and what things you're doing out there. Okay?
Beautiful.
All right, we'll do that in just a few. Hello, this is Steve Akeley of the ABV Network. Let's talk about the people who make this show happen. First up is Leatherwood Distillery in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Company founder Andy Lang started distilling as a hobby while serving his country as an elite Green Beret. Andy distilled all over the world during his time in the military and brought this passion back to him in the U.S. when he returned home. A visit to Leatherwood combines Andy Lang's unique distilled spirits and a museum of artifacts from his time serving the U.S. Share a drink with a fallen soldier at their bar where you can grab an acrylic bio off the wall that celebrates the individuals who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his or her country. They will also ship their distilled spirits directly to you, so check them out at leatherwooddistillery.com. Hi, this is Steve Akeley, owner of the ABV Network. We're sponsored by the Stave and Thief Society. This is where you, a bourbon enthusiast, can expand your knowledge and emerge a bourbon steward. In 2017, I completed my Executive Bourbon Steward certification. It's the most comprehensive bourbon certification program available and connects you with an expansive network of bourbon enthusiasts and professionals. Check out the full listing of in-person and online certifications and join the society today by enrolling at staveandthief.com. Okay, let's talk about Neely Family Distillery. In 2018, I met Royce Neely at an industry event. He started appearing on our shows, and we became friends during my frequent visits to Kentucky. Today, he's leading the way for young distillers making their mark on the bourbon industry. A visit to Neely Family Distillery combines family history, a look at what makes their products unique, and of course, a tasting through their whiskeys, moonshines, and creams. Check them out at neelyfamilydistillery.com and visit them in Sparta, Kentucky.
This is Bob. I'm in Ohio. You're listening to the Bourbon Daily.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm here with Rob Rubens of R6 Distillery out in El Segundo, California. And Rob, so, you told the story a little bit already that you were inspired after touring this New Orleans rum distillery. So tell us exactly why that meant so much to you. And how long after doing that do you start making the move to opening your own distillery?
Yeah, I think it was a visit down to New Orleans to speak on a paper that I had written and published for something I can no longer even describe to you because it's that far out of memory. Had to do with, the consulting gig I was on, and we were invited to speak on a panel, et cetera, et cetera. And after that, I'm like, all right, this is over. Great. What are we going to do? And my sister-in-law lives down in Baton Rouge, and she, knew I was coming into town and invited me to go visit a rum distillery. I'm like, sure, booze, no problem. And so we went on a tour of old New Orleans rum, and it just had everything about it. There were still the markings from the water that flooded it from Katrina, the smell of the fermentation, the spirit, just kind of the brick and the wood that was in there, all of those different, really visceral things that you are hard to describe unless you actually experience them. It just created this kind of overwhelming impact mixed with a little bit of booze for the welcome drink that they give you, where I'm like, this is really cool. This is so different from what I'm doing and so tangible compared to what I'm doing with deliverables and reports and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I really want to do this. And that was kind of the moment for me where I'm like, all right, I need to start figuring this out. And, fast forward, I think that was the end of 2013. On March 17th of 2014, St. Patrick's Day, everybody was out partying and getting drunk. And I was at home, and that's the day I committed to putting together a business plan and starting to figure my stuff out on how I was going to make this happen.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a big step, though, because there's really probably not a bourbon fan out there that at some point hasn't been like, man, I wonder what it'd be like to open a distillery. So what's it like making that leap from, liking this idea and this concept to, putting together the business plan and then ultimately kind of putting your neck on the line? Because I'm sure you got to, either raise money or borrow money, or there's a lot that goes into opening a distillery. So, what's it like going through that process?
It's fun. It's invigorating. It's scary as hell. It's all the emotions you could possibly think of. It's very rewarding. There's days where you want to cry and tear your hair out. There's days where you're really happy and enthused because you see the experience that it brings to other people and the joy. So it's really the whole spectrum of experience that comes, or emotion that comes with it. So it's pretty hard to describe, but yeah, living through it, I've definitely started losing hair earlier and found some grays in there earlier than I thought I was going to find it. But, that's all part of the fun with it.
Yeah. How do you learn? Because, distilling is a combination of science and artistry. There really is a lot of artistic part of making whiskey. So how do you learn the business?
Yeah, great question. I was put in touch early on with some folks that were a couple months ahead of me in starting their distillery. And I just, the mantra, never stop learning. Same thing with flying and aviation too, right? There's always something that you can learn from somebody else, whether good or bad, don't do this kind of thing. I basically paid to go be somebody's apprentice instead of getting paid. I paid them to come, clean out tanks and learn about fermentation and distillation techniques, and traveled around. Went to Chicago, went up to Washington, went over to Europe, and it's still a learning process. I'm still as I go kind of thing, but never stop reading, never stop talking to people about what they do or how they do things differently, because you might get an idea from there how to do it more efficiently, how to do it cheaper, how to do it better, how to do it faster, what not to do kind of thing. So yeah.
So you were able to officially get Los Angeles's first legal bourbon. So tell us how that felt.
It was cool. And honestly, the realization was a happenstance conversation in a car with a friend when we were driving. And he said, well, do you what kind of claims to fame can you make? I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in all that marketing crap. He's like, no, but it's important. And I said, yeah, you're probably right. And then we just started talking about it and realized, I'm like, holy crap, we are Los Angeles first legally distilled bourbon since, Prohibition or whatnot too, and can't really find anything in articles about what was back then. So at least we can claim post-Prohibition. But yeah, it was pretty cool realization for me, and again, back to what you said about like people don't really think of California and definitely not Los Angeles as like a bourbon place, but trying to change that. There's still people that believe bourbon can only be made in Kentucky, but
well, that's amazing how often that comes up, but yeah, it's still a thing.
Yeah.
So you are making whiskey out there, and you have a network of people that you help learn from and stuff like that. What sort of challenges do you have out in Los Angeles? Because when you talk about Kentucky, one of the things that they're going to tell you is the weather, the climate, those changing seasons. And in LA, they like to brag out there. Our seasons are always, it's great every day out here. So what are the challenges of making whiskey out in Los Angeles area?
It is very expensive out here. I will say that's probably one of the first and foremost challenges, aside from any sort of like weather claims that folks will make out east. Excuse me. Land and real estate. I just saw an article today about how home prices are tripling in certain areas in California, and that's not unique to just real estate for residential. That's commercial and industrial too. So finding a spot to call home to make your whiskey is in and of itself a challenge. Beyond that, we try to do as much California as we can, versus bringing stuff in from elsewhere. So if we can, we source most of our raw cereal products from Northern California, and have relationships with the farms and the folks who clean the grain up there. So that's really important to us. But as far as challenges go, I mean, we've got, in our warehouse, it'll get up to 80, 90 degrees in the summer, and it cools down to 50 degrees in the winter. So it's not as dramatic as what you would get out in Kentucky, but I'm really happy with what it's done for our whiskey so far.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. One of the tough things of doing what you're doing for me, I think, would be, is when do you know you're on the right track? Because it's got to be tough, because you're making the stuff yourself, and you can give your own self-assessment, but self-assessments are tough. I mean, going back to my days in the corporate world, self-assessments were not an enjoyable experience when I had to assess myself and sit there across from your manager and say, no, you're not that good. You're not as good as you tell. So you have to assess yourself, and you have to worry though, am I being, are my eyes open enough? And then of course you have friends and family, and employees, if you got employees, you have them trying, but again, it's a little bit skewed. So what's the point when someone's tasting it and they're telling you it's good, and you're like, yes, I can accept this as, I'm doing a good thing here? Yeah.
Most people have been brutally honest with me along the way. That's been helpful. I'll be honest. We made some stuff that tasted like crap. I don't know if I can swear or not.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was straight up shit, some of the stuff that we made. But again, going back to the learning lessons, you can only learn so much from other people, but you can make an example of yourself sometimes. And we didn't put that out into, production or in bottles or whatnot. There's stuff that we dumped at the beginning of our career as a distillery. So you go back to you're your own worst critic and keep friends around who are honest. But, I think the accolades speak for themselves when you can start to submit things to competitions and you're getting, silvers and golds and triple golds. So we're proud of that, what we've done with it. And, some of the stuff that we've done, like our single malt and our blue corn bourbon, which are really different, very unique and kind of counterintuitive to the category, I would say, but those do not taste very good for the first while. So those definitely need some time in the barrel before they are, the finished product. And I guess you could say that about any whiskey, but those in particular have some pretty funky off notes for the first year or so.
Yeah. You mentioned, awards and things like that. Tell us, hit some of the highlights. What are some awards that you've won that you're pretty proud of?
Super proud of the blue corn bourbon triple gold that we got with Micro Liquor Spirits Award competition. That spirit in particular is my baby. It was the first bourbon that we made. It's a 7 grain, and just the most complex experience. I'm remiss that we don't have any on hand right now. It's still aging in barrels because we ran out of what was ready to be bottled. We've also won, gold for the Carmel, which is our caramel flavored whiskey, and we won silvers and Best of LA for our regular bourbon as well. And we won a silver for the single malt at the American Whiskey Masters and San Francisco World Spirits. So those are some of them, which, kind of is validating to know that we have gotten on the right track with what we were making after the first couple batches of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID really screwed things up. We're on a 2-year thing where it's kind of halted everything, but, and I don't know where you're at in terms of visitors coming to your distillery and stuff like that, but, tell us the experience of it or are you open at this point or not for visitors?
Yeah, it's been a constant pivot for the last, 25 months or so.
Yeah.
And we installed and commissioned a kitchen at our distillery, so we could serve food, because food restaurants, sorry, I got Jax, my dog, barking in the background. We had, restaurants are governed by different things than distilleries or tasting rooms. So we did that, and then it didn't really matter because then LA County kept changing their mind every so often, saying,
Yeah.
Well, you got to put plexiglass in, now you got to put dividers between seating, now you got to wear masks to go to the bathroom, now you got to get vaccination card. It's just been, so I decided in January of this year to shut down the tasting room for now and just focus on production. We did the whole pivot for hand sanitizer, and then the FDA wanted to come out and fine everybody after they sanctioned it, and then they got overturned for what was really a embarrassing act. But yeah, it's been a really interesting couple of years, but production has picked up and sales have picked up. So I guess there's a silver lining to that. And there's been a lot of government stimulus, which has helped us expand and add to our equipment line.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the memberships that you've got and that kind of thing.
Sure. So we used to, when the tasting room was open, we had the cask membership and the elite membership, which offered, a flight of whiskey every month and a glass and a bottle. And with the elite membership, you would also get a quarterly release of a special spirits pull that we did. We do a lot of single barrel stuff.
Yeah. What about, your products? Where can you buy them at?
Yeah. So in California, we can ship direct to consumer. You can buy it directly from our website, r6distillery.com, or a lot of the big box stores carry it too. Albertsons, Vaughn's, Pavilions, Bevmo, Total Wine. The local Costco has it, and we're working on expansion. But the best place is from the website. And then we do have some other states available too: Florida, New York, Colorado, Illinois.
Oh, nice. So what does the future hold for you here? Where do you think this can be?
Well, we're excited. We're in the middle of final, iterations of our plan set for expansion into Long Beach. So we're adding on a plant that's about 3.5 times the size of our current plant to continue and keep up with the production demand. So that's exciting, and we'll carry with it its own set of unique challenges. But really looking forward to that. I think that's definitely a measure of, success and excitement for the business.
Okay. Any scoop you can give us? We always like scoops, new items, anything like that, anything that someone else doesn't know. We like to be able to break the news first.
Yeah, I think our next upcoming collaboration release for the R6 Brews collaboration is going to be with Lost Abbey and Almanac Beer Company. So separately, but those are kind of the two on the horizon. We just finished one with Honolulu Beer Works out in Hawaii. So that one's got to get some time in the barrel, but those we're super excited about. The whiskey tastes really good.
Very cool. Well, Rob, thank you for coming on today. We appreciate it. Once you come on the Bourbon Daily, you're part of the family. So feel free as you get new things going on, products, whatever it is, you got some breaking news, come on with us and come on the show again. Okay.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Anything you want to share? I think people want to follow the journey. I'm talking website, social media, whatever you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. R6distillery.com. And those are the same handles for Facebook and Instagram, R6 Distillery. We'd love for you to check us out and grab a bottle, try it out for yourself, share it with friends. We're also, if you're flying through LAX or San Diego, we're in the Delta Sky Club there too. So you can try it there as well on your travels. But yeah, appreciate y'all taking some time to hear about the R6 story and look forward to chatting with you again.
Absolutely. For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akeley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakeley.com. We've also got a company website. That thing's abvnetwork.com. That's the one you got to check out. Everything that we do is out there. All of our previous shows, which are counting about 3,000 or so, and pretty much everything we do. Our shops out there, our events. So check out abvnetwork.com. If you like what we're doing, please give us a 5-star review. It helps new people find the show. That's very important to us. And finally, if you want to get involved, you can do so. Head over to patreon.com/the ABV Network. Rob, thanks again, my man. I really appreciate it, bud.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right, Fridays, we'll have a brand new show for you tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Until then, take care, everybody. See ya. Peace.
Bye.
Before we finish the show, let's talk about some great companies that support the ABV network. First up is Moonshine Still Pro. Moonshine Still Pro has a full line of products to help the home distiller. Whether you want to experiment on the stove in your kitchen or you're looking for a bigger setup in your backyard, owner Russell Creed and his team can help. They have multiple still offerings, accessories, and even grain from their partners at Goldstone Mill to assist you in making whiskey on par with your favorite distillery. They can also help you with some fabricated parts you probably can't make yourself if you are attempting a DIY still project. Learn more or order your still or parts at moonshinestillpro.com. Another friend of ours is the Goldstein family at Goldstone Mill. The Goldsteins offer a variety of heritage and heirloom grains to make the finest whiskeys in the world. Plus, they are more than just a grain company. They are truly consultants to make sure the grains they are providing to you or your business meet your highest expectations. Additionally, they work with mills around the country, ensuring shipping is as low as possible for their customers. If you're a distillery, brewery, or even doing this at home, Goldstone can assist you. Check them out at goldstonemill.com, call them at 217-254-6613, or check in via email at hello@goldstonemill.com.
The Bourbon Daily is part of the ABV Network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening and cheers.
This has been a Steve Akeley production.